Paper is one of the cheapest and most accessible art mediums out there. But just because you could doesn't mean you'd want to start a project right now. Today I want to talk about Find Your Art Medium Paper Art Edition. First, we'll have a look at what kinds of paper art there are and how it works. Afterwards, we will look at the advantages of paper art, and there are many, and whether you would like it or not. Then we will look at the disadvantages and see what kind of personalities would struggle with paper art. And lastly, I'll do my very objective rating in summary. Let's get into it and answer the question, what is paper art?
Paper art is every artistic outcome that is created out of paper. There is a vast variety of different techniques that will influence the possibilities you have while creating with paper. And they are the easiest way to give this broad medium some definition and categories. First off, you have collage. You can create a collage by arranging pieces of paper and attaching them onto a backing, mostly another sheet of paper. There are messy, creative, and intuitive collages or planned collages that layer paper to create something you thought of before. Then there is folding. Elaborate folding like origami or simple folding like folding a piece of paper in the middle to make a greeting card are both in that category. And then there is my favorite, which is cutting. When you cut paper, it opens a whole new dimension of possibilities. If you watch my channel, you might know silhouette cut by now because my grandma is a silhouette cut artist and I sell her products for her. By layering cut paper, you can create three-dimensional dioramas, art pieces, portraits, and more. Of course, you can always combine the techniques to have even more options. When you combine cutting and folding, you can end up with amazing things like paper engineering, which is a whole other subject. The most 3D I will introduce to you, and which you will see me create in the background later on, is the paper diorama. Let's continue with the equipment and materials you need for paper art. First off, and most importantly, is paper. Simple unicolored paper can vary in weight and thickness. Unless you need a particularly sturdy backing, I recommend printing paper weight. That's 80 grams per square meter. Otherwise, it is very hard to cut with your equipment. Second thing you need is something to cut with. The easiest and most accessible is always a pair of scissors. I recommend to have two pairs, a large paper scissors pair as well as a small pair for details. Where I live, they are pretty affordable. The big one cost me €6, the small one 4. You can of course also cut with a scalpel, but then you should have a cutting mat. Both a scalpel and a cutting mat start at €4 in my country as well. Paper and something to cut it with are the two most important things. Depending on what you want to do, you can also need glue. Glue comes in rollers, as a pen, stick, or a fluid, and there are even some glue dots, which I will be using later on. They are handy if you want to create gaps between layers and give your project more dimension. For my last project, which was paper mobile, completely out of paper, glue was not enough to hold the paper together sometimes. In that case, you want to think about a hot glue gun, or what I did was I simply took needle and yarn and sewed the paper together.
Now you know what utensils you will need and what paper art is. I want to talk about the great qualities of paper art now and what kinds of people could have fun with paper art.
The first advantage actually has to do with the equipment we just took a look at. A huge upside to this medium is that paper art is so very accessible. You almost certainly have everything you need in your home right now. It is one of the cheapest art mediums out there and offers so much variety at the same time. Seriously, sky is the limit with this art medium. And that brings me to the personalities that could like paper art. First one is you might like paper art if you need a creative outlet and have an abundance of creativity. You like the endless possibilities and are not afraid of a blank canvas, or in this case, a sheet of paper. You might also like paper art if you like to plan ahead. Paper is a great medium to experiment with, and if you have an elaborate plan, paper might be a great medium to try that out with. If you go into the 3D section and want to create models, paper is always a great choice to create it with first. You might also like paper art if you are a fan of gouache. The flat layers of color are one of the things I talked about in the Find Your Art Medium gouache video. If you are looking for variety in your medium, but you want to stick to the special style of gouache, creating art pieces out of paper might be a great alternative for you.
Now you know about the advantages and good qualities of this medium. Let's see what is not so great and what kind of personalities might struggle with this medium.
Let's see. If you are someone who makes spontaneous decisions, it might not be a good choice for you. Similar to lino cut, reductive art techniques where you take something away instead of building up paint to create something, they are not a good place to make decisions on a whim. Once cut off, your paper is permanently reduced and you can glue it back on, but it might spoil not only your art piece, but also your experience with the medium. Which brings me to the next point: you probably won't have fun with paper art if you are easily frustrated. Chances are you need to recut a layer, you miscalculated, your sketch was wrong, or it just doesn't look as good as you imagined. A solution to that would be to stick to already planned out projects. If you are a fan of that, there are great resources, for example on Pinterest. You can most certainly find what you're looking for. Those are negative attributes of reductive art, but there is another thing you want to look out for. Paper art might not be a good fit for you if you are easily bored. The process just takes so very long. Imagine you want a blue heart on top of a white background. With paint, you'd dip a brush into the paint and paint it on there. Done. With paper, you need to get blue paper, get white paper, maybe sketch it out beforehand, cut out the paper and then adhere it onto the white paper. For everything you want to create, you have at least twice the amount of steps you need to undertake. And after the 20th piece, it just gets old. So if you are committing to a bigger art project with paper, you should be aware of that. Or you should just watch the vlog where I make the paper art mobile. I was so done with paper. And then there is one more thing. It might just be me, but paper art always brings out my messiest side. Oftentimes, unicolored paper sheets are very large, or they come in a large size if you want to have them cheaper. They will take up lots of space, there will be little pieces of paper everywhere, and it is not something you can start for 30 minutes and put away afterwards again. You will need lots of time to clean, and it might be a good idea to dedicate more time to paper art. But again, I am a messy crafter. Maybe it's just me. Let me know if you experience it differently. Now, this was about what kind of personality would dislike paper art, but there are also some objective disadvantages. Paper art is not easy to reproduce. A painting can be scanned and then printed out. Depending on what kind of paper art you want to create, your options are to scan and print, take a photo and print it, or you can invest in a plotter that recreates your paper pieces. You will still have to assemble it yourself though. so paper art doesn't have great scalability. It is not very long lasting and difficult to preserve. For example, you can buy acrylic varnish off the shelf for your acrylic pieces, you can print your lino cut with archival ink, or you can frame your watercolor, even behind a UV shield frame. Paper art often pushes the boundaries of traditional art sizes and shapes, and if you are unable to frame your piece, you will have to get creative and research other options to preserve your art.
If you know now that paper art is not for you, don't worry. I already introduced some other mediums and maybe one of them is a good fit for you. Otherwise, let's see the final rating, again very objective, of paper art.
On a scale from no fun to fun, I give it 4 out of 5 stars because it is a very unique and great way to mix crafting and painting. On a scale from pricey to cheap, I give it the full 5 out of 5 stars. Paper art is probably the cheapest art medium out there and the most accessible. If you don't have everything you need at home right now, a trip to the dollar store should get you all the materials you need for paper art. On a scale from know-how to easy, I would give it 4 out of 5 stars. For bigger projects, you need to plan ahead and work precise. Otherwise, it is a very intuitive and easy medium. Last category, is it a hassle or is it ready to go? In this category, I only give it 3 out of 5 stars. As I mentioned, it can be very messy to work with paper, and not only does it consume time, but also space.
As you can see, it's quite a good rating, and I just love how versatile paper is. All you really need is some imagination and the projects are endless. Now I have 2 important questions for you. The first one, is paper art a good choice for you, and if so, why? And the second question is, what kind of medium would you like to see next? I always want to hear from you because I want to share my interest in all these different art mediums with you. So I'm all ears for your suggestions. Let me know in the comments. I appreciate you and your feedback. Don't forget to check out the other art mediums I already introduced, and hopefully I will see you in the next video. Bye.